Now, respected author, artist, and elder Carl Gawboy spoke today at the Duluth Public Library about his new graphic novel he created in hopes to fill in gaps in the history. Gawboy grew up in Ely surrounded by fur trappers, which inspired him to write about the rich history in his book Fur Trade Nation, an Ojibwe graphic history. He tells stories of the Ojibwe people in a way that is more historically accurate than what's out there. The retired professor combines his own perspective in his graphic novel and uses illustrations to paint a picture that was never available to him growing up.
It has an effect. Over and over again, you see the same image and the same message. It has this effect of ultimately your perception of yourself and your own history.
The book began as a collection of 100 drawings when friend and publisher Ray Newcomb said how important Gawboy's work was. She pushed him to keep creating it and turned it into 800 drawings throughout the years of editing. Both have great hopes for what the book can do for missing history.
So to be able to spark that curiosity and people continuing to educate themselves, right, and to rethink our own collective history, I think, is really, really important to me.
The book now is available on Amazon and can be found in local bookstores in the Duluth area.